Welcome to the Holistic Wealth and Health Podcast. Your co-hosts, Jason Smith and Bryan Bibbo, will inspire and teach you how to prosper in your mind, body, and spirit, not just your financial life. Joining forces with field experts, Jason and Bryan are here to help you focus on what matters most in your life, living well.
Welcome, everyone. We're back here with the J.L. Smith Holistic Wealth and Health Podcast. I'm excited today. We're talking about going beyond the gym with mental and physical health. We have a great guest here today, Heather Hausenblas, founder and CEO of Wellness Discovery Labs. And with today's topic, we love to keep the podcast open while we're a financial firm, everything else. We want to really talk about that mental and that physical health and how important that is to have. So Heather, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about your background. How did you even get into this industry?
It's interesting. As a young kid, I grew up in Northern Ontario, was really active, played a lot of sports. And when I went to university, I was majoring in psychology. I loved human behavior and why people did certain things and did not. And there was a new field that was starting up at that time in kind of the 1990s called exercise psychology and health psychology. And I was fascinated by that. And I wanted to understand why most people, but only 20% of the population actually is regularly physically active. So why do those 80% not exercise when it's such a good thing for them? And that really comes down to their behaviors, and that's the psychology. So that's how I got into this field, trying to understand, first of all, like psychology and movement and why most people don't do it, even though they know it's good for them. And then branching out into other health behaviors like sleep. Most of us aren't good sleepers and we don't necessarily eat the way that we should. And we're often very stressed. And that really comes down to our habits and these small little habits. And that's the psychology. So that's how I got into this field.
I appreciate that background. And what I see is you have a passion for that field, and it started you to launch your company, Wellness Discovery Labs. Share with us, what does that actually do, and who is your audience, and how that goes on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so there's really a few kind of pillars for the company. One is based on research where we typically do clinical trials for other health wellness companies that have, let's say it's a product or a supplement, and they want to test it to see whether it really, let's say, improves people's sleep or really gives people more energy. So what we do is we design a clinical trial, and then typically what we'll do is randomize people to actually get the company's product, sometimes supplement, and then another group will get the placebo, and then we will test to see whether it really works or not. And this is so important because there's so many health wellness products out there that have no science behind it. So we really don't know whether they work or not. So what we do at my company is we provide the science towards these products. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But we're that independent third party that can provide that information to the company. So there's that one aspect. Another aspect is trying to provide accurate information out there to the public. There's a lot of misinformation out there on health and wellness, and people are very confused. There's a lot of influencers out there on social media that don't have a background. So what we do, and what I'm very passionate about, is reviewing all the science and then providing the truth to things like, will taking a collagen supplement make you look 10 years younger, for example? So it's things like that we're very passionate about, really providing people accurate information in the health wellness industry, because people are searching for the truth and they're struggling to find out what is the best thing they need to do that's actually based on science for their health.
It's amazing. Wellness Discovery Labs, what we're hearing here is actually helping with the trials and the data analytics of, hey, we have an XYZ supplement, it's supposed to do this for you, versus the placebo. Is there any actual increase of what it says it's going to be? I love that you said about the social media influencers, right? Because you log on to social media, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, everyone's always promoting something, and they're saying it's going to do X, Y, Z. We have the same thing in the financial industry. There's a lot of, as I call them, the talking heads on YouTube or other sources, and they say, do this financial product or do this, and does it actually really work? So I guess it does have the parallel between both of our business there. But recently you were part of the Healthy Aging Seminar. Can you speak a little bit about that and why that was important to you?
Yeah, it was a great opportunity and a great experience. And I love speaking to people to try to provide them with different ways of thinking about their health and wellness that's based on science. And what I was focusing on is movement and these 24-hour kind of guidelines that are coming out and how we need to move beyond the gym. And what I mean by that is most people don't exercise. As I said, only about 20% of adults here in the US are regularly physically active. And when we move, it pretty much affects every part of our body in a positive way, even coming right down to our mood. I tell people if you're feeling a little stressed or maybe having a little bit of anxiety, if you exercise, you'll actually begin to feel better. But most people don't do it. Most people don't want to go to the gym, and that's okay. And the point of my talk was that we can move beyond the gym. There are many ways for us to be active, and we get caught up in that, oh, I have to go out and do something really vigorous, meaning I really need to get my heart rate up and it's going to feel uncomfortable. Most people don't like that. And some countries now are moving towards what's called these 24-hour movement guidelines, meaning that we can move beyond the gym. The gym is great if that's what you like to do. However, you know what? It's these simple things that we do throughout the day that can actually add up. So standing more during the day is really important for us. The light activity is really important. When I say light activity, that's just simply walking can have a great impact on your health. Carrying your groceries in from the car. Not only are you walking, but you've got some resistance right there by carrying your grocery bag. So it's really having people think differently about their movements and the things that they do every day and taking a look at their whole 24 hours. So what I mean by that is that your sleep is a type of movement, and although you're still, but however, if you don't get a good night's sleep, I can pretty much guarantee that the next day, you're not going to be in as good a mood, you're not going to be as productive, and you're not going to move as much, meaning that you're not going to have that energy to exercise. So it's all related. So you want to get a good night's sleep. The next day, it's going to affect really how much you want to stand, how much you want to move, and how it's all related. So we really need to take a look at our whole 24 hours and kind of embrace that if you don't like going to the gym, then choose something that you like, because if you don't like it, you're not going to stick with it. And a common thing that I hear from people is they'll say, oh, I don't have the time to exercise. And they'll say, let's actually take a look at your day and map it out. And I'll say, well, you know what? Let's maybe try to combine. So instead of maybe having a coffee meeting, why not go out for a walk and do a walking meeting, which I often will do. And I'll tell you, not only you're getting some activity, but the meeting will probably be shorter as well. So there's some positives that come out of that. So it's really taking people to look a little differently and think a little differently about their day. And you know what? You don't need to change your clothes and put on gym clothes and get to the gym. You can wear your regular clothes and just take a few more steps a day, whatever it takes to encompass those whole 24 hours.
Yeah, I love it. And you shared with us sleeping is essentially the catalyst, right? Sleeping is the catalyst of the next day and how that day is going to turn out. And then I was one of those, Heather, I was one of those guys that said, oh, I'm so busy, I can't work out. And I look at it as like the segmentation of life. When we're children, we're so active, right? We're always running around, we're doing things. I used to ride my bike somewhere between 2 to 10 miles a day when I was a kid. I would go to my buddy's house that was down where I lived on, I will call it Menor Avenue where I live, or then I would go to the mall with him, and that would be that 10-mile journey. And I did that for so long. When I did through high school, when I reached college, I got lazy, right? It was that freedom, everything else, you get out of your habits. And then for many years, I wasn't working out. I was still playing a little bit of basketball. Then I got into my career, and probably for 5 to 8 years there, I was not doing much movements. And then I had that epiphany of I need to take better care of myself. If I want to be sharper, if I want to live longer for my children and be here for my grandchildren, I want to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. So me personally, I'm making sure I'm walking. Even when I don't feel like it, I use walking 2 miles a day or running 2 miles a day. And then 3 days out of the week, I'm lifting, and then I'm also playing pickleball. So you brought up another great point is like meetings wise. If you're doing something, I'll plug my ear pods in and just go and talk to the meeting and be on Zoom that way. Who says we have to be glued to these chairs, right? There's no one telling you, besides gravity sometimes, that you need to be glued to this chair. So what are some of the stuff that you do on a day-to-day basis, besides what you already mentioned, like standing and those things?
I love what you're saying. Right now I'm standing. So I have a standing desk in my office. So I am standing more this way. Actually, this morning I wanted to catch up with a friend. And what we did is we went for a walk and we actually put on rucksacks, which are sacks that have weights in them. And we went out walking in the neighborhood. So not only are we walking, but we're getting some resistance training in as well. So it's almost like double dipping at the same time. So I'm all about these kind of little kind of ways that we can sneak it in and just change how we go about and do our day. One of the things that I really try to do is wake up in the morning without an alarm, because I know if I do that and wake up naturally, that means I've had enough sleep. Because if you're waking up with an alarm, that means that your body still needs more sleep. So it's that signal to tell you that maybe I should go to bed 5, 10, 15 minutes earlier, because it's going to set my next day up for success.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you just shared with me, it's like those little hacks of things that you can do. And you talked about the rucksack, walking around the neighborhood, those things. For me, I will also, if I'm on a treadmill, I'll take 5-pound weights and just move my arms with them because I'm getting that resistance. It's like a little hack to take advantage of what you're already doing and getting better results and more little juice, I would say, to the exercise. But we shared multiple times that 80% of the population isn't actively working out. So it sounds like there's a mindset issue here, right? So what would you say about how mindset plays into affecting the physical health and just getting up and doing?
Yeah, it's interesting. It really comes down to the power of the mind. There's been studies that have surveyed people to say, hey, is physical activity, is exercise good for you? And 99% of the people are going to say yes. They know that exercise and moving is good for them, but we're coming back to that about 20% only regularly do it. So knowledge is not enough, right? People know probably that they should be eating more fruits and vegetables, but does that translate into people eating more fruits and vegetables? Probably not, right? Those things become complex. And I tell people, try to make things easier for you. Take a look at your environment and where you are. So if you have a regular desk, turn it into a standing desk. And it doesn't mean you need to go out and spend money on a standing desk. You can just prop up some books and that will lift your laptop or lift your computer up. So it's these small little things that you can do to try to tweak your environment. I say, get outside every day, because we do know that the more time we spend outside, the more active people are. And it's the mere effect of just getting outside. So it's these small little things that we can do that end up adding up. I tell people, when you're brushing your teeth, why not do some calf raises? Or if you're waiting for the microwave, but you have something in the microwave for a minute, why not do some squats while you're waiting, instead of just standing there, maybe looking at your phone and start to scroll. So are there things that we can do? One of the things that I started to do was I've gotten to a bad habit of watching, when I go onto YouTube to find a video, I don't know, it just miraculously knows exactly what I'd be interested in. And then 15, 20 minutes later, I'm still watching these videos that are not related to my work. I get frustrated because I wasted my time. So I decided to implement that if I wanted to watch a video, I'd have to hold a plank for at least 2 minutes. And what that did is now I pretty much never watch any videos because I don't want to hold the plank. So it's these types of things that might sound silly, but believe it or not, they add up over time. I tell people, you know what? If you save $8 a day, which could be as simple as not going to the gas station and buying bottled water and maybe a coffee, over the course of a year, you save $3,000, right? If you read 20 pages a day over the course of the year, that would equate to about 30 books. If you take 10,000 steps a day over the course of a year, that's the equivalent of about running 70 marathons. So these small little things do add up. And I really think that people need to begin to think about it that way.
No, that's great. When we talk about watching videos, I was similar, and you realize how many videos you watch, and mine was mostly financial and educational based, but I've also, to speed up the time, I put them to 1.5x or 1.75 speed. So in a 20-minute video, I'm getting it done in 12 to 10 minutes, and then I can justify, hey, I still got the data I wanted. But as we were talking about there a minute ago, is like mindsets. And just to share, like, most of us, if you look at the studies, it says we all tell ourselves these negative thoughts in our head, right? These self-doubting thoughts. And it starts with that mindset. So what I trained myself over time was, how do I change these thoughts in the sense of, I need to start catching myself. That was the first phase for me. If I'm like, you know what, I don't need to exercise today, or you know what, I don't feel good about myself today. I started catching myself. I started saying, that's not true. Those are your self-doubting thoughts. And it took a few years, but I was able to rewire my brain where I'm thinking more of abundance and a positive mindset. And that's also what was the vanguard for me to start being able to exercise more and realizing it. So it just might be with the mindset is looking at those self-doubting things that we're telling ourselves. We're all humans at the end of the day. And the thing is, as you said before, is there's a lot of misinformation out there. So you hear something from one person and then the next person, and it's on physical and mental health, and it can spread, right? We saw that during COVID with misinformation. We saw so many things, and it's more and more. But how does it affect people, or who do you search for genuine advice, or how do we find the facts?
It's tough. It's really tough. Where I go is scientific journals. So I go right to the source of what research has found, and I'll read the research and I can understand the research. Not everybody wants to do that or has the ability to. So what I then do is break it down into a quick blog that I post on to say, okay, what is the truth and what does this really mean? So I encourage people to try to align themselves and find, I don't want to say necessarily influence, but thought leaders out there that have the credentials, whether it's the PhD or the MD or the experience, and understand the science to provide what the truth is. And you bring up an excellent point about mindset and the power of the mind. And our mind is so absolutely powerful. That's why when I'm doing a study, whether it's a clinical trial or other researchers, and even the FDA now mandates this before a drug can come to market, is that it has a placebo. Because guaranteed, if somebody is in a study and they're taking, let's say it's a pill or a treatment, and they think that it might make them healthier, it might make them reduce their pain or reduce their stomach issues. If they believe that it is, even if they have the placebo, guaranteed there's going to be effect. And we call that the placebo effect. And it's when something that there's nothing in it, it's a sugar pill, but it still has that effect. In every clinical trial that I have done on any type of supplement, whether it's ashwagandha, fenugreek, melatonin, guaranteed when the group is taking the placebo, they're still going to say, oh yes, my sleep improved, or I feel better, or I have more energy. And what the company is hoping is that the actual supplement or the actual treatment is going to outperform the placebo. So my point to this comes down to the power of the mind, right? And if we think that something is going to work, it's going to work for us. So I really encourage people to, and you're so right, think positive. Say, you know what, I am an exerciser, I am going to do this today, or I am going to get a good night's sleep. And that over time is going to really have a powerful impact, and it can actually change people's physiology. We've seen this with placebos and the effect of it, where it can actually reduce people's heart rate, reduce their pain as well. And it's really quite incredible. So use your mind as one of the most powerful tools that you have for your health and well-being.
It is, I think it is the most powerful tool when you just think about life and your mindset and how you can manifest things in your life and how people can change. You look at a cancer patient and they're diagnosed with cancer, then they start changing their mindset. I got to get in this mode to beat this cancer. And if you're believing it, things can be achieved. So again, this whole mindset thing is so important. But besides some simple wellness habits or those things, what can people do to quick start using stuff that's beyond the gym for physical, mental health? Or what would you say here?
So I would encourage people, try to wake up without your alarm, get outside every day and connect. It's really important to connect with other people. It's the power of connection. And there's been some fascinating studies showing that when we take a look at longevity and what is going to help us live the longest, yes, definitely, right? Like not smoking, exercising regularly, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, living in an area that doesn't have a lot of pollution. But what tends to trump all of those and have the biggest longevity boost is actually social connections. So people who state that they feel that they have a lot of social support and that they're not lonely, tend to live longer than other individuals that don't have that. And it even trumps kind of these other health behaviors. And it was fascinating that a study found that stating that you feel that you don't have close friends and family that you can count on, or that you feel you're lonely, equates from a health standpoint to smoking about 15 cigarettes a day. So that's how it equates. So then I've had people say, does this mean that if I have a lot of friends, I can smoke? I'll be like, no. No. But this is where this is the misinformation. Smoking is still really bad for you, but it's just showing you from a health standpoint, right? The power of our social connections. We're social beings, and we really need to foster these. And that's why I encourage people to pair behaviors together. So when you go out for a walk, go out for a walk with a friend or go for a walk with somebody else. And it can also be as simple as saying hi to a neighbor, even hi to a stranger. We call these casual connections. And those can have a positive impact on people as well. So I encourage people when they're just out for a walk to just say hi and make eye contact with the person that they're passing, and then keep going. And it's really amazing how just these small little things add up and have powerful impact on our health.
Yeah, I love it. Join a pickleball club, join a bridge game, whatever it may be, so you have those social connections. I've seen a similar study, or maybe the same one you're referencing. It was like an 80-year Harvard study that went over decades, and they were so surprised it lasted that long, because usually studies die with the people that are running it. And this one went for multiple researchers and said exactly the pinpoint of relationships is the main thing that keeps us longevity and alive the most. So having those relationships, and I get it, there are people out there that their family members aren't around, but have some more social connections in other ways, create more friends. It's so super important just to have those connections with individuals, family members, friends, or even book reading groups. There's so many different things out there. Don't be afraid to get out of your four walls at home and make those changes and those implementations in your life. But Heather, if there's any last minute tips or anything else on your mind, what do you want to share with the audience here?
You've mentioned pickleball a couple of times, and I want to jump on that because it's one of the fastest growing sports here in the States. And there was a study done that actually looked at which exercises or which activities actually give you the longest health boost, longevity boost. And we know that exercise is going to make, if you're regularly exercising, you're going to live longer. But what they did is they broke it down based on sport type. And what they found is that racket sports like tennis, racquetball, squash, pickleball actually gave people the longest longevity boost of living 9+ years longer than individuals who did not. And it trumped all other sports. And the reason why with an activity like pickleball is it's social, because you're playing with other people, you're moving, and there's also that cognitive aspect where you have to keep score and there's strategy. So what I encourage people to do is, even if you don't have a partner, you can go to pickleball courts and there are people there and you can start to play. And it's an activity that you don't need to be a professional on the circuit to play. You could pretty much pick up a racket and go out and start playing and just have fun. So I encourage people, try something new and go out and do it. And just because you might miss a ball or two or three or four, that's A-okay. Just get out there and do it and laugh and have a good time.
Yeah. And just for everyone to hear that, we got into pickleball because I played tennis for many years growing up, stopped playing, and then I just got into pickleball, and I love it. You nailed all the aspects of what it does. But there's beginner leagues out there. If you've never played before, there's beginner leagues, and you're always trading partners, so you never have to have a partner. There's so many of these around, and we'll have an episode coming up actually directly on pickleball, but I'm glad you put that in there. I had never heard what you just said about, hey, that pickleball and the longevity is one of those exercises or sports will say that gives us the most longevity. That was an amazing statistic. I greatly appreciate that. But Heather, one last thing for you. If you have a message to say to the world, what would be your message?
Goodness. One message, I would say, get outside and smile more. That would be my message.
Yeah, I love it. You made me smile a lot here today, and I was laughing, especially with the don't go smoking cigarettes, because all of a sudden you're doing something to offset that. That doesn't make any sense. But we greatly appreciate your time here today, Heather. With that being said, how could people get a hold of you?
They can, if they go to wellnessdiscoverylabs.com, I am there. I also write posts on Substack a couple times a week where I break down the science and provide the truth to health and wellness is a passion of mine, and they can also find me there and on Instagram.
That's awesome. Heather, greatly appreciate your time. Take care and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for listening to the Holistic Wealth and Health Podcast. We hope we inspired you to make changes so you can live your best life. If you want to find out more about what we do, or if you want to have a holistic wealth and health financial plan, please call 456-833-7000. Please subscribe to the podcast and share it widely with your friends and family. Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors, PCA, an SEC-registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. J.L. Smith Holistic Wealth Management and PCA are separate, non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance and tax services offered through J.L. Smith Holistic Wealth Management are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including, but not limited to, age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information. For information pertaining to the registration status of PCA, please contact the firm or refer to the investment advisor public disclosure website, www.advisorinfo.sec.gov. For additional information about PCA, including fees and services, send for our disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using the contact information herein. Please read the disclosure statement carefully before you invest or send money.